Okay, so let's welcome Alison Edgar, MBE, very recent MBE, to the stage. Thank you, Alison.
Oh, thank you so much. I know that my camera's been off a little bit, but it's because I've been charging my laptop. I'm in a different office, so that's why it keeps going on and off. I've been listening and I've been watching, and Bev, thank you so much for putting the event together. It's really inspiring. You know, I heard Lynn and Sunny speak at Jill's event, and it doesn't get tiring, it doesn't get old, it just gets even more inspiring. So thank you so much for Lynn and Sunny, and the honesty there about lockdown is incredible, because so many people, you know, they hide that emotion, and I think it's that makes us strong as women, because we can be honest in our feelings and our thoughts. So thank you so much. And so third up now, are you swapping me over to be host so I can share the slides, Bev? Yeah, because I've got some slides, so let me see if I can do that. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So, can you give me a little thumbs up or say in the chat if you can see the slides? Perfect, right, okay. So my session is going to be slightly different to the other sessions, because as part of my story, I want to really get you guys involved. So we will be using the chat. So again, not just for questions, but throughout the presentation. The other thing is, I would love it if you could have your mobile phones or another browser handy, because we're going to be using a tool called Minty, which will get us to look at confidence, because today I'm going to be speaking about confidence. So I want you guys to get involved. So either access another browser, or if you're on your phone, because we're going to be really interacting together. So hopefully that is good. And I am very, I like you to use the chat. I know that you're all watching. I know you're all awake, but I just like to see that you're all still there. So when Bev asked me to get involved with today's session, it was a no-brainer. And again, one of the things that I talk about sales, really fundamentally what I do is I teach sales, and one of the key part of sales is confidence. And again, you've really got to give Bev another round of applause, because a lot of people, when they were putting an event together, you know, you have got, you know, what is it, 2 MBEs, an OBE, 1 swimming certificate and a perfect dress. And a lot of people wouldn't, you know, we're donating our time to help Bev's event, but a lot of people wouldn't have had the confidence to ask speakers to come and help out at this. So, you know, confidence for me is one of the things that people ask me a lot. Oh, you're so confident. How did you become confident? And I think confidence is something that grows. You know, there is that whole nature, nurture to confidence. But today, the talk is going to be based on my TEDx, which was called The Art of Getting What You Want, because I can only teach what I've done. You know, I don't teach anything I do from theory. I teach from what I've done in my life. So I'm hoping by the end of my talk today, not only will you know a little bit about the story, but boom, ladies and gents, actually Tristan's in the audience, and I know that a couple of my male friends are joining us today. So it's not all about women, because it's just about the art of getting what you want. So to tell you a little bit about the story, again, I'll be sort of throwing different bits in as we go along. I am dyslexic, so it's quite a well-known fact on all my social media that I was late in life diagnosed as dyslexic. And honestly, I just thought I was a little bit thick. And I think when you go through that, when you really struggle to read and you really struggle to write, especially at school, you've got 2 choices. And I'm a firm believer in choice. You've got the choice that you can, you know, think you're thick and then be thick and do nothing because you blame thick for not being able to do things, or you find the things that you are hot as hell at and you expand that in your life. And for me, it's people. I adore people. I've always adored people. And again, I come from a high-rise council flat in Clydebank, which is just a and one, we never had much money, but I had great parents who really let me be me and gave me confidence to be myself. And the day I decided I was leaving school, so at 16, as soon as I could, I wanted to get out the door because I didn't like the academic. I loved the friendship groups, but not the academic. And I got a job as a hotel receptionist. And honestly, in my head, this is what I thought a hotel receptionist did. Checking in, here's your key. Checking in, here's your key. I thought I'd spend a whole day of just giving out keys. But what I did learn in that environment is actually I learned a lot about business that I didn't even know. And what happened, it was a small family hotel. So you had to, right, you ready, ladies and gents? It was before computers. So every penny that came through the hotel came through the manual tab. So it all went through a journal. And what I learned to do is I learned how to work through money, learn about money and how important that was to business. So I ended up traveling in the hospitality industry. I worked for Radisson in Sydney. I worked for Southern Suns in Cape Town. I worked for Seymour Hotels in Jersey. So I traveled internationally for 6 years. And by the time I was 21, I was managing a team of 20 odd people, front of house in Cape Town. So, and it's interesting because a lot of people will say to me, well, that was a brave move, you know, going and traveling on your own at that time. What was the catalyst for doing that? And I think one of my mantras is fortune favors the bold, you know, so if you don't go, you'll always be stuck where you are. And I think, you know, I'm going to talk about change during this session, but I think it's just important that, you know, it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay. What would have been the worst if I'd gone to Cape Town? Didn't like it? Well, I could always have come back. But if I didn't go to Cape Town, I would always have lived in regret for not having done that. So I came back to Scotland. This was 93, so I was 27. Still never owned any furniture. Now, I know that sounds really random, but if you're looking for a plan in your life, actually buying furniture was one of my big things that I'd never done, including a bed. I slept in a futon for many years. And at that time, I went to a party in Glasgow and I met this boy. And literally, that boy is actually Mr. Edgar, who is still my current husband. And what happened was he had a normal job. So he worked Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And I'm still working shift work. I'm still like working all the hours, trying to run hotels. And he gave me an ultimatum. I had to try and get a real job, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, or I was going to get chucked. And again, you make the choices, you go for it. Again, I'm a strong, independent woman, but I thought, he's a keeper. I quite like this one. So I had to try and get this job Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. But again, I think sometimes we get stuck in a rut of the things that we know, the comfortable. And moving out of hospitality, again, was another fortune favours the bold. What am I going to do? And there was an advert for the first call centre BT opened in Scotland, outbound sales, direct mail, direct response. So that means like they get a flyer, I follow up, and I try and, you know, at the time I was trying to sell these newfangled things called mobile phones. You might have heard of them. You may not. I don't know if they'll ever catch on, but you know, who knows? So again, I was trying to convert people from their pager to a mobile phone. So I ended up, we did the training with BT and they were brilliant. We used to go down to Milton Keynes, 200 of us, don't forget, it's a call centre, so 200 people on the train from Glasgow Central on a Monday morning to Milton Keynes. We spent the week in Kentshill and then 200 back up the road on a Friday night. So on the Monday morning train, we were quite well behaved and sober. But I'm sorry if MD was ever on the train on a Friday in about 93 going back from Milton Keynes to Glasgow, because that wouldn't have been a fun journey if you were trying to have a silent conversation. So that's how I learned sales. As a result, and again, one of the other things that happened in this journey, and it's odd, but one of my goals, you know, we talked about Sunny's got a KPI, she's got like massive plans, and Lynn's like, plans, yeah, I sort of have. I really wanted to work for Yellow Pages. right? That's who I really wanted to work for. And again, this was now 98. And one of the things that they had, again, it was quite materialistic. In 98, the basic salary was 32 grand and the on-target earnings was about 80. And this is back in 98. So I applied for the job and I got knocked back. I got rejected. And again, confidence. I think it's actually just really, if you have been rejected, if you've been knocked back, sometimes it just dents your confidence. But for me, I wanted to find out why I'd been rejected. And the reason I'd been rejected was I didn't have enough field sales experience. They would have given me a job in telesales, but not field sales. And I really wanted the company car. I wanted the Maestro, darling, or whatever it was, the Vectra. I wanted the mobile phone. I wanted, I wanted all the perks that came with it. And I had a choice to either go and actually get the skills they needed or stay where I was. So again, now's the time of change. I made the choice to work with Dow Egberts. They took me on in field sales. And then 18 months later, I went back and I knocked on the door at Yale and they gave me the job. And I ended up, I was there for 15 years as one of the top performers. So I think it's the next part of the story that will help you to make now more relatable, if that makes sense. Because when I started at Yale, Yellow Pages, it was the leader in the marketplace. Again, it was before digital, it was before social. You would just literally look in the Yellow Pages for whatever you wanted. But 15 years on, the company hadn't changed at the right time. That's the top tip, is to change on the way up, not on the way down. And as a result of that, I couldn't work. You can't sell something you don't believe in. And I had no idea what I was going to do. The world had changed, and what was I going to get stuck behind, or what was I going to do? Create a path. And I had no idea. And again, a wee bit like Sunny was saying during that start of lockdown, it sends you into a frenzy, doesn't it? What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? So, and again, I think this is where the support of women is really important. So it was a wee bit like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I used my phone a friend lifeline. And I spoke to my friend from school, Lorraine, and I said, I've got no idea what I'm going to do. I'm overwhelmed. I can't do this job anymore. What am I going to do? She goes, oh, that's really easy. You're going to set up a sales training company to teach people to sell the way that you sell. And actually, that's what happened. I set up the company. And again, another thing I think is really poignant to the people who are watching this, starting a business is probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done. And you don't just go from zero to hero. I call it the Tom Daly moments. So during 2011 to 2014, my top tip was to always start a business when you've got another income, because you're not under as much pressure. But sometimes that's not as good, because sometimes it's the pressure that makes you achieve. And I would think, oh, I'm going to start this business. I've got a website. And again, I'd go up to maybe the 5-meter board and I'd look down. Should I give up my job? Should I do this? Should I do that? No, I'm just going to go back downstairs, and I'll jump in from the side of the pool. And then eventually you go up to the 10-meter board and you look down and go, oh no, I can't do that. I'm going to go back downstairs. So the time, people think that I just went from zero to hero. I get people who go, how come you were never on my radar and now you're everywhere? How did that happen? But it didn't happen like that at the start. But when you get to the top of the 10-meter board and the time is right, timing is everything, you've got a choice. You're either going to swim when you get in that water or you're not. So that's why the timing is really important. So again, the journey since then just kind of went mad. It really went a bit mad. You can see in this slide, number 10, I've been on LBC. My clients include the Discovery Channel, Sky. I've there's bits, and the picture on the right, I was invited to the Queen's Garden party, and now obviously I've got an MBE. I still can't believe that happened, literally. So, if you look, the purpose of showing you this isn't like, oh my goodness, I've done all these amazing things. It's like, you know what? It's, if I can do it, anyone can. I left school at 16. I've got qualifications. and now I've got an MBE. So I'm hoping that that will give you some inspiration. So let me give you some tips. So I'd like you to have a think. This is where I said it does get interactive. So if you can open a browser or on your phone, if you go into menti.com. So you see here, there's a little thing that says, go to menti.com. And I'll give you a few minutes. I don't know how many people are actually in the room. 24, right? 24, so 23 of you, right? And then on menti.com, if you put in the code 5992273, right? I'm going to click here, and it gives you the options of how confident you feel at the moment. We're going to do it at the start, and we'll do it at the end. Again, it's to break up the me talking and getting you interactive. So I'm going to click on this. Fingers crossed you can see this. Can you see this thing? Rate your confidence. Can you see the slide? Brilliant. Okay, so if you just keep the codes at the top, actually that's not the right code. That's a different code, I think, 55. Hopefully you can see that. So if we have a little look, how confident do you feel in your personal life? So we get, on average, we've got 4.3. How confident do you feel in your professional life? 3.9. How confident do you feel to meet your goals that you set? 3.6. So again, hey, we've got a rocking group of fairly confident women in this room, haven't we, Bev? Yes, we have, a fairly confident. Now let's see if we can actually get some tips to make everybody else slightly more confident. How does that sound? Back to this. Right. Okay. So we are going to monitor that at the end and see if we can raise the roof in confidence at the end of our session. How does that sound? If you want to raise the roof for confidence in that chat, give me a yes. If you want to raise your confidence levels, give me a yes. I can see Sunny going, yes, yes. Oh, that, I know that looks like it's me, but that's actually Rebecca under my name. That's why we've got lots of S's. Rosemary says yes. Bev says yes. Maria says yes. Jane says yes. Boom. Right, let's look at how we can get you guys moving that up. So interesting, feeding into what Sunny said and what Lynn said, I do believe that you do need to have some goals. Again, although Lynn didn't have a structured goal, she'd have had a plan in her head, and you know she would have had a plan. I don't know if she's still in the room, but you know she would have. She wouldn't have achieved all those things. So I'm going to be slightly controversial now based on the room. I'm not a big believer in manifestation and abundance. Sorry for those of you who are. I do believe that you can get what you want, but I think you make your own manifestation and abundance. And I think it comes from, again, having a vision. And a lot of people have got a plan. I like short plans, but with a vision board. I like to look at my board and when I tick things off. So I'll show you, this is the one we set in January. So I was due to go on holiday to Croatia in May. What do we think the chances of that was? That was a no. So I missed that goal. 4 international speaking gigs from up to the end of December. Well, actually, we kind of hit that. But one of the biggest disappointments, I would say, of lockdown, you know, Sunny talked about 80% of the business dropped within that first bit. I feel your pain, Sunny. I can relate to that. And what I had just secured my biggest speaking gig, not biggest, but to me, one of the big goal ones. And I had been invited to the European Commission in Brussels to speak to 500 other staff, 500 or 600, and on change. Again, so not sales, on change, the direction I want to take the business in. And obviously that cancelled, but they still paid the bill. Hallelujah, hallelujah. There's a positive in everything. So I can still add them onto my client base. So that's good news. I'm going to talk about the fitness journey because some of you know me from Facebook and I spoke about it at Jill's event. But I wanted to do a marathon, half a marathon for Stoke UK, and we never hit the. We didn't hit the amount raised, but I got from couch to half a marathon within 12 months. I wanted to be on Loose Women in the audience. I actually want to be on Loose Women. So the real picture there should be on the panel. But obviously there is no panels for that either. And then starting my degree. And again, it's interesting. When I did the slides with Rebecca this morning, off the vision board because I changed my mind. And she went, no, keep it on, because I think it's important to tell people, like, some of these things didn't happen because it's out of my control, but that one was in my control. But it was because my why I wanted to do it wasn't strong enough. And again, I think, you know, that's, again, I'm going to be controversial again. Oh, it's like I'm really like knocking it out the park on controversy today. Because one of the things for anybody that's watched Simon Sinek's TEDx or read his book, or, you know, he talks a lot about the why, but I'm not a fan of his book. I love the message, that I think it is the why that really keeps you focused. But it was too Harley Davidson, Southwest Airlines. I just felt it missed a gap for me. But, you know, we look at life and how we get what we want. If the why is not strong enough, you really will give up on the goal. And that's why I decided not to do the degree, because I was doing it for, I suppose it comes back to feeling a bit thick when I was 16. I feel that there's still a chip on that shoulder that makes me think, oh, I should have a degree because it'll make me be perceived as being better or be better. Or, and actually the why to do it isn't strong enough. I don't need that degree. That's my imposter syndrome that is telling me that I do. I don't. I've got an MBE. Boom! One of the other things, again, I'm going to talk a little bit about the current book, which is Secrets of Successful Sales, which I know some of you have read, and the new book, The Art of Getting What You Want. And what I had to do when I wrote Secrets of Successful Sales, I genuinely, and I mean in my heart of hearts, believe everything that we do is a sale. Okay, everything that we do, like getting somebody to make you a cup of tea is a sale. And how do we get that into every aspect of our life? Because people hate sales, and they hate sales because they tie it to rejection, and they hate rejection. So when I wrote Secrets of Successful Sales, the weird thing happened that, again, it did really well. I'll talk about it in a minute, but it did so well. But I was getting messages from people who really shouldn't have read that book, because in theory, they're not in sales and they're not in business. And I wrote it for people in sales and business. How very dare these people read that book when they're not in sales or business? But what they were doing, they were sending me messages to say, Alison, I love the book. I'm getting on much better with my partner. I saved money when I bought my house. I got more money when I sold my car, just by using the things in the book. And again, I think this is where the why kicks in, because I never wanted to write the first book, let alone the second book. But people need me. People need those skills to improve their life. So that's why I've now written 2 books. But in the new book, we talk about confidence and getting what you want, the art of getting what you want. Well, sometimes it's a me thing, isn't it? It's you. You stop you. But then there's other things like selling your car or buying a house, and that's a we thing. That's you and me. You know, getting married, having babies, that's not a me thing, that's a we thing. So in the book, I sort of segment how to get what you want, but it's 2 different ways, because sometimes you have to sell to yourself, other times you sell to other people. And the we thing's not like a we thing, like the Scottish we thing, it's a we thing, you and me. So one of the things that stops us from getting what we want is this. Now, if I do this live, I usually get somebody in the audience to pronounce it because I really struggle. But it's metathesiophobia. It's the fear of change. And a lot of people do feel change, but they don't know it's a real thing. Does that make sense? You know, there's fear of mice, buttons. Oh, buttons, that's my fear. You know, all these different things. But the fear of change is one of the things that really hold us back, isn't it? I mean, that's one of the things that holds us back, is the fear. And again, you know, Bev talked about it earlier. She was talking about storytelling and the cavemen. And, you know, a lot of this stuff does come from our brain. You know, it is the psychology. And when we're put in a situation, and again, coming back to Sunny and, you know, the start of lockdown, like we try and protect ourselves. So we you know, are we going to freeze? Are we going to fight? Actually, we're going to fight, or are we going to flight? And I think the shock of what happened at the start of the year put a lot of us into freeze. But it was interesting, again, you know, Sunny's got a team, I've got a team. And I had to fight. I had to pivot. So what I did was, I was a bit like a salmon when the world was stopping and everybody was giving stuff for free. I'm like, no, I can't. I've got to fight because I've got a team to pay. And I didn't furlough the team because Kaya was helping me write the book and I wanted it finished because I need to get that book out to help people. That was the why we kept going. Rebecca is young, and I believe that putting young people on furlough stops their structure and it also affects their mental health. And I couldn't be responsible for that. So again, the first initial thing was I'm just gonna freeze. I'm just gonna freeze here, and then that'll be me. And then the next thing was actually that we sorry, my dog's now just come in. Don't we love the old zooming? So the next thing that we've got is that what will happen is we either have to fight, fright, or freeze. And I think that's what comes when we make change and it affects our confidence, doesn't it? We sit in either flight or freeze because we're afraid that it goes wrong. And that's where, again, I think it comes back to mindset. So tapping into Carol Dweck's and feeding in from exactly what how Bev started off this morning and what Lynn was saying, that we hold ourselves back, especially as women. So if I had a penny or a pound, right, a pound, let's up the stakes here, ladies and gents. If I had a pound for everybody that said to me, oh, sales, I'm not good at sales. Oh, sales, I don't like sales. Oh, sales. And there's one thing for sure, if that's what your mindset is, you're never going to be good at sales. So I'm either good at it or I'm not. I tried that selling. I prefer my social media and my marketing. Keep me in the safe zone. Failure, oh, I tried sales, limit of my abilities. Oh, I don't like to be challenged. Oh, you know what, I just stick to what I know. And if I get feedback, I mean, that was quite interesting about the feedback, Sunny, because I think we do want everybody to love us and love us for what we do. But I think I love negative feedback because I think it really makes me stronger. The same with, like, you know, I had never been a sales trainer. I set up a sales training company, but I'd never been a sales trainer. And I remember inviting a facilitator trainer on my session because I thought she was going to tell me I was brilliant. Oh my God, it's brilliant. It's the best thing I've ever seen. And she slated it. She completely slated everything that I did, not the content, but the delivery of the workshop. And of course, you move then in fight, flight, or freeze. And I was right in fight, you know. And then I moved in to actually flight, going, I'm shit at this. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm really rubbish, you know. And then you really challenge yourself and you lose your confidence. Whereas actually, when you overcome that rejection and think, right, okay, let's breathe now. Let's not just think that woman has been a bit of a bitch. Let's really take on board what she said. And I think that's where, you know, I think I've always, again, I'm quite feisty and I do like to think that I'm right. But after I've taken the space to breathe, I go, right, come on then, let's dive into this and find out what we can do better. So again, I can learn anything I want. And I think now is the time that there'll be people in the audience that do want to do things differently. Failure is an opportunity. Yeah, bring it on. I love it. Every time I do something wrong, I go, oh, that's a chapter for my new book. Thinking about the next week and the next week. So for somebody that couldn't even write a book, then I'm like, oh, my next book. You know, I take feedback on board and that's what helps me to determine the shape. And again, it's really interesting with Lynn, you know, she's talked about the things that went well, things that didn't go well. But I think the theme that you've got, Bev, with all the speakers is they all sit in growth mindset. They might jump into fix for a wee while, but they come back. And I think that's what's made, you know, one perfect dress, one swimming certificate, 2 MBEs and an OBE is actually a growth mindset. So I really, you know, challenge you. This is not my content. This is Carol Dweck, but I do think it's core to confidence. But can you change? And I think I saw that Sunny was getting a wee bit emotional when she did her section. And this is the bit where I start to get a wee bit emotional because I talk about my dad. So this is my dad. And what happened was my dad, when he was 8 years old, got knocked down, right? So he was born in 35. So this was 1943. Now, we thought there's a lot going on in the world now. 1943 also had its things that were going on. And he was told at 8 years old that he would never walk again. And again, my dad had a growth mindset because what he said was he was not having any of that. He decided that he was going to walk. So there's pictures of him, wee black and white pictures, in a wheelchair and then on wee calipers. And he learned to walk so well that he actually managed to blag doing his national service. So Clydebank, for those of you who may know, is famous for a couple of things. Obviously, wet, wet, wet. Duncan Bannatyne, and also the QE2. So again, it's a very industrial area. And my dad managed to get a job in the shipyards as a draftsman. So although he was physically not particularly abled, mentally he was sharp as a tack. And honestly, he couldn't spell either. So he was probably dyslexia. You know, it just, the things that he could do, he was really attention to detail. He was really good at, you know, the technical stuff. And then he met my mum. So my mum is a small town, or was, again, they both passed away, but was a small town lady from Clydebank. So again, quite a fixed mindset. It was all, you know, you don't need Clydebank, you do it this way. And my dad at one point was offered a job as a lecturer in the night school. The night school, like it's like the night school. But this little boy with the growth mindset, because he was being influenced by my mum, turned the job down. He was afraid, he had no confidence. And again, I think that's a really valid point to everyone, especially in business. Sometimes we're actually influenced by other people's mindsets, and it's other people that hold us back. So he never took the job, which meant we always stayed in the high-rise council flat, the high flat, never had a garden, we never had a dog. And that's, you know, sometimes making those choices affect other people around you. It's not just you, you know, we are the center of our universe, but it's not just us. So when my dad was 50, this is in the 80s, this is in like prime Thatcher time, the shipyards were all closing down because they were sending all the work overseas. So Glasgow was becoming a real down in the doldrums place to live. And it would have been really easy for my dad to be like the other men who, I blame the white collar workers, the managers, it's their fault. Somebody else's fault, fixed mindset, you know that, oh, I'm not going to work, it's no point. The fixed mindset is rife. The unions are really running the country at this point in this area. And my dad said, no. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to growth mindset. And when my dad was about 55, he went back and he retrained to do AutoCAD. He embraced the new technology. And what happened then was magical, because he became the most sought after draftsman in Scotland and the north of England, because he knew all the old style skills on the boards. And that really led into the concept of AutoCAD. And the young boys could only do AutoCAD. But my dad combined the knowledge of both, and he made more money in the last few years of his life than he ever did. I had moved out by then and I got a dog, and he even watched the dog. So do you know what I mean? I think now is the time where we think, oh, I can't embrace technology. Well, look at us now. We're all sitting on Zoom. This would never have happened before. So now I think to help your confidence is a brilliant time. And I look at lockdown as just a hotbed for learning new skills. So again, I think there's an example that you can change your mindset. I think I need one of Sunny's dresses actually looking at this. So there's two things I want to share about my story that I'm hoping can just start to resonate with you and how to build your confidence. So, and it does come back to the why. You will never make change in your life if your why is not strong enough. So, the book is a prime example. What used to happen was there was government funding to pay for my services, my training services. And when the government pulled the funding, the people that I have to sell to pay the team. But like Sunny's saying, you've got to make money to sustain your business. But the people who need me most are the startups, the micro businesses, and the women in business who struggle with confidence. But unfortunately, you know what? They tend to be the ones who don't have a lot of money. So how do I help them? How do I get my knowledge to them when they've virtually got no money? You have to write a book. You have to. And the journey of writing the book I mean, there was tears. You think I'm emotional now? Oh my God, like literally there was sad tears. I'm usually good with the happy tears, but these were like, it was painful. But the book on launch day on Amazon sold out. The book became a W.H. Smith top 10 business book. In 2019, The Independent voted it one of the top business books written by a woman. This week, I found out it's been used as a textbook for an apprenticeship framework in Ireland, the first ever apprenticeship for sales. So if I hadn't have done that, I couldn't have changed those lives. And it wasn't easy. And I was, again, imposter syndrome. Oh my God, there was two big fears. What happens if I write this and nobody reads it? But the worst fear, what happens if I write this, people read it and they think it is SHIT? But that didn't matter because I knew it would help other people. And that's where the confidence comes from. I think the confidence comes from actually, it doesn't matter if people like it, if they don't. You're never going to be like, you can't be everything to everyone. You can please some of the people some of the time. So that's the book. The other story is health. And I think that's the third pillar really of life, isn't it? Really having, like, looking at why you do it. And I think for me, my mum and dad both died of stroke-related illnesses. So I'm a kind of stroke waiting to happen. And you can see in the left-hand picture, you know, there, it was interesting with Sonny's weight journey as well, that we do that. And it's now like, I've now lost, this is 2 years since the journey began. My husband's also lost 8 stone and he's like super fit. He's like an animal now. He's like so fit. But again, I didn't want to go out running in the rain. I didn't want to not have the cream cake, but focusing on why I'm doing it will help your confidence to get through. So those are things, that's all the me things, isn't it? And again, it does come down that we do feel a lot of imposter syndrome. I'm just checking the time. I'm usually a very good girl and I set a thing called a perf timer, and the perf timer tells me where I'm at, but we're all right for time. So is this making sense? I don't want to sit here and just talk at you. I want a wee bit. Oh, thank you. Rosemary says I'm looking amazing. Thank you, darling. I'll take that. Rosemary also says, what a dad. My dad retired and gave up. I think, again, if you look at that time, that's what happened. Bev's absolutely loving it. Because if there's any questions so far, I'm happy to take any questions. We'll throw them in obviously at the end, but if there's anything that's in there, fantastic, totally inspiring. I'm waiting for the feedback. Sammy going, you're rubbish, you're really dull, I'm not inspired at all. Oh, excellent, I'll take that with a growth mindset. Okay, so if we have a wee look, again, it comes back to that, how do you change this? So if you're sitting here, Mentimeter. Okay, I've got, Rebecca sent me a wee DM. I don't really know how I'm going to make that happen. I think we'll just try and do something around it. Okay, so one of the things is, when we did the poll at the start, not 100% of you said that you were confident in every way, right? We agree there is, you know, there's a wee bit of a gap here on confidence. So I'm not confident in myself. What if I make mistakes? And again, it feeds back into exactly what Lynn, what Bev, and what Sonny have been saying, that we sit this is, again, it's the CBT model. It's still not mine. I just take it and I translate it into things you can understand. But if you do think that, what will happen is your thoughts then go into your feelings. And then what will happen is you'll feel anxious about trying anything new. So it's here, it all comes in this nerve center, the one that's built to protect us. The one that protected the cavemen is still trying to protect us. And I'm not confident. What happens if I make a mistake? Oh, maybe I'm going to be anxious, or maybe I shouldn't bother trying it. Then what will happen is, in your behaviors, you shy away from change. You know, this is what happens in sales. People go, oh, I'm rubbish, I can't sell, I'm not good. Then what will happen is they'll become really fearful. And then when they go and they pick up the phone or they have a conversation, they'll be like, oh, flubbery doubly, flubbery doubly, flubbery doubly. And then what they go is, I'm rubbish at that, I'm not going to do it again. So can you see that whole negative circle? And this is where we have to try and break the circle. But how we break the confidence circle is here. It's here. It's got to come from here. So if we have a think, if we change it to, I am confident, I can do this, I have got this. I want you, again, and you're all on mute, I can see your I want you to say it like, now it's your turn. Go. Right, ready? I am confident. I can do this. I've got this. Boom! I see the mouths moving. I love it. Okay. You got it. I see. I even hear Bev saying it. Woo! Then what will happen is already, can you see, because you said that out loud, you're like, I'm excited now. I'm going to give this a crack. Whatever it is, whatever your thing is, whatever your goal is, whatever your why is, it's yours. It's not mine. I can't put it on the slides. All I can do is teach you guys to be more confident. So that's it. You're going to give it a crack. And then, you know what? I'm going to be proactive. So if it's sales is your thing, or if it's setting up a business, or whatever your thing is, you're going to give it a crack. That's exactly at the end of this session. Whatever it is, you're going to make your vision board, why you want that thing. You're going to feel confident about getting it. You're not going to worry if you make a mistake, because that's where your growth mindset will come in. And then, of course, it goes round in a circle. So I get asked a lot on this circle around, and again, feeding right back into what Sunny said at the start of lockdown, because it came back from the circle. It's like, oh, I'm flat, I'm scared, I'm worried. And then what happened is you just will go into freeze. I think today I might just sit in my pajamas. I ain't putting on my personal, I'm not putting on my perfect dress today. I'm putting on my perfect slippers and my perfect dressing gown that I've not washed for 2 weeks. So, not saying that was you, Sunny, but it's easy, isn't it, to fall into that, just that doldrum. So how do you stop that? Because today is the start, isn't it? And there'll be people today who go, I'm not confident, I can't sell, I'm down, I'm flat, I'm struggling. So to me, the top tip, right, you ready for this? I can see it in this room. I'm looking around like there's other people. I'm in a different office today. That's why I'm in the upstairs office. So we have got, and I'm sure many of you have got one, an Alexa. The reason I can say it in this room is there isn't one here. If I do it in another room, she goes, yes, I'm Alexa, what do you want? So if you've got an Alexa in your room, I'll probably set them all off now in your houses. So we set Alexa to go off at 6 o'clock in the morning. And what we do is we choose a song. So, we usually have a song. In the summer, we usually have the same song, which is the Beatles' Here Comes the Sun. So every morning the alarm goes off and go, good morning, it's 6 o'clock. And then it starts to give me a wee blast of Paul and Ringo and George and the other one, I forgot his name. Oh, John, I remembered. Boom. So again, you wake up thinking, oh yeah, this is it. Or at the moment in the winter, Here Comes the Sun isn't appropriate. So we've got the Proclaimers. I'm on my way from misery to happiness today. So whatever your song is, another one is The Greatest Day. But starting off, you get up in the morning and you think, today this could be the greatest day of my life. So you get, for me, every morning I get this feeling in the pit of my stomach. I'm excited about the day. I'm looking for things. Okay, I can't go to the pub, I can't go to the shops, but I can concentrate on the things that I can control. So after this afternoon, I'm going running and I'm doing virtual boot camp tonight. So I can control that. I'm concentrating. I'm not concentrating on the American election because I can't do anything about that. I'm not concentrating on the COVID. All I can do is look after myself and my business and my team and my family, and I can control that. It's when we start to look at the things we can't control, it affects our confidence. And then again, because I behave like this, guess what? You guys are all inspired. And because you're inspired, you give me positive messages. I go, all right, I'm confident. And the circle goes round in a positive state. So if you're not sitting at confident in your head, that's the only place to start. So Jacqueline says, love it. Just ordered the book, feeling so confident. Boom, see that, Sunny, right in the back of the net. Sold. Only joking. I do have some offers later. Again, up to you. If you want to take them up, brilliant. If you don't, no drama, but they're there, because if you don't ask, you don't get. Kay, the lovely Kay says, Alison, I've said it before, you're an inspiration. Ooh, the MBE was very well deserved. So glad that you let me online in this session. We couldn't get a few people in, Bev. We might look at that at the lunch break. They're not getting in on their phones. So many are struggling with the pandemic. Respond to this really helps. So again, this is my top tips for confidence. And it's really interesting. And again, it feeds back to the fact I've got an offer at the end, because I believe when it's delivered correctly, sales and customer service is exactly the same thing. So by you to translate that If you do believe that you've got something to offer the world or something to offer business or whatever, by not putting yourself out there and giving people that option and fulfilling what you've got. You know, my dad finally found how to fulfill the things in his life which helped him to achieve great things, and the knock-on effect of him doing that gave us the customer service. You know, I've now got a great story to tell. It's all about the cavemen, Bev, isn't it? A great story in there. So that's the me thing. So that's all the internal things. But sometimes getting what we want isn't us. It's other people as well, isn't it? So I reckon I'm eating into a wee bit of that extra time. So I'm going to talk for about another 15 minutes and then we'll do Q&A at the end. So we'll talk about the we thing. Now, some of you may have heard me do this before. I think I did it at Jill's. Maybe, maybe not. Don't know. But one of the pillars in the book is around behaviours, because like finds like. It's easy to get on with people who are like you, isn't it? But sometimes in business, we have to actually, or to get what we want, we have to build a stronger relationship with other people who are not like us. So the model that I use is based on DISC. So it's again coming back to psychology. I love psychology. And it's William Moulton Marsden's model that we use. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring it up a little bit. So some people are task focused and other people are relationship focused. Some people are extrovert and others are introvert. So what I'm going to do, again, I want you to think about getting what you want, because sometimes it's about just understanding the person. So again, it might be, you know, relationships is a cracking one, because we know during lockdown, like the relationships have just, it's been tough for people being locked in with people they're not getting on with. So even if there's one person in the audience that this helps, I think it's still worth delivering. So I'm going to get you to use the chat now, guys. Who's ever met somebody and they've not got on with them? If you've ever met somebody and not got on with them, give me a yes in that chat. Oh yeah, everybody's like, yes. Yeah, oh, Bev's like, oh yes, of course, of course. Okay, so most people are saying, yeah, there's people, yeah, oh yeah, yes, it goes. So let me explain why it happens, right? So what I'm going to do to try and explain, I am hypothetically going to take you back to school, right? And I'm hypothetically going to give you an English test, which will last for 30 minutes, right? So I don't know about you, but when I breathe in and I say that, I can smell the wooden desks with the wee well holes in there. Again, for all your young people, you know, that's like, there was a well and an L, that's what I mean, quill. Not that old, but you know what I mean. So that's smell. So the teacher's coming round your desk and putting down the test paper, right? You're all sitting there, test conditions, you're not allowed to chat, ready to go. And what will happen after 20 minutes of the test, the red, the task-focused extrovert will put up their hand. Hey, miss, check me out. I'm a winner. You're all losers. I'm finished. I'm bored now. What do you want me to do? But when the test paper comes back, oh, I didn't realize there was another side to that paper. So for the red, the task-focused extrovert is just all about getting the task done. It doesn't matter about the detail. So again, for those of you who are in business, think about your customers. That's the ones who go, yep, I'll talk to you for a minute. Yep. What do you want? You've only got 5 minutes, and then they put people under pressure. Sunny, on your website, these are the ones that haven't read the T's and C's and can't work out. Oh, I think that. Oh, and then they're like, "What's your fault?" So again, you know, a lot of that's your fault. Oh, somebody else's fault, isn't it? So that's the reds, the task-focused extroverts. Then back to our test after 10 minutes. You will have the relationship-focused extrovert. So after 10 minutes, it's really just started, hasn't it? They'll be like, oh, Bev, I love your hair. I love that. That matches my pink. I wonder, where'd you get your hair done? I wonder how does that work? Alison McCall, can you get on with that test? I forgot there was a test. We were just having a chat about Bev's hair. It's like, and again, think about the people, your friendship group, you know, your customers. These are the ones that if you say, you know, you're going to Tenerife, then they've been to 11 in a reef, something bigger or better. If you're having a conversation, they'll be easily distracted. They might be on their phones. So again, you know, these are the extroverts. You kind of know where they are because you hear them, you see them, they're bright. But then we move across into the introverts. So already my tone, my pace, my gesturing, just a little bit slower, because the greens genuinely care about other people, and not for anybody else's, not for publicity or for any other reason than they genuinely care. So what will happen is after 10 minutes, the green, the relationship focused introvert, Miss, my friend Jill is at the dentist getting a crown. I don't think she's feeling very well. I think she'd maybe take her to the nurse. Come on, Jill, let's go. So for the green, the relationship focused introvert, Jill's pain or Jill's headache was more important than the test. So again, these are the real carey, sharey people. And when it comes to a sales perspective, or even a relationship perspective, or dating perspective, anything, they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't want to tell you no. They don't want to give you your opinion. So when you put them under pressure to ask them for something, then they just go, yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Everything's great. But it's not great. They just don't want to tell you. And the same with customers. What will happen is if you push them too hard, you'll just push them away, and they'll ghost you. And the reason they'll ghost you is they don't like conflict and they don't want to hurt your feelings. Then we move across to our blues. So back to our test that lasts 30 minutes. And what will happen is right up to the last second, they're checking their work. Did I dot my I? Did I cross my T? So they really strive for perfection. So I ask again, you know, like you all put, yes, I've met people that I don't get on with, and we're not one colour. We're a blend of all colours, right? So I'm just simplifying it for the purpose of this exercise to help you to understand how people think, because it comes down to the cross. So if you're up here and you're a task-focused extrovert and you're like, right, okay, where do you want to go for dinner? Where do you want to go for dinner? Well, that's easy. We're all at home now, aren't we? But like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Oh, I don't know. I don't mind. I don't mind. And it drives them bananas. Like, you're like, well, can you just tell me what your opinion is? Can you just tell me what you want to eat? Well, I'll just have whatever you're having. So again, that relationship, then the red will push, and then they'll go for Chinese takeaway, and then they really wanted Indian, but they didn't want to say. So again, you can see from that how those things affect the relationship. And then the yellows, here they are, leading the Disney parade, everything's great, yeah, it's got to be. And it's the dull, boring blues that don't smile and don't engage, that they don't build the relationship with. Then if you're down here in Greenland and you just want everything to be really nice and everything harmonious and get on with everyone, it's those pushy reds that, oh, they're in your face, they're like, they're just horrible, they're asking you to buy things. Or can you see from that? And this is like our relationships in personal and in business. And then you've got the blues who really want to think about things. They want all the details. They're not deciding whether they're going to move house before they've actually done a spreadsheet, you know, whereas the yellow's going, let's move house, let's just make that magic happen. So again, they think, oh, they're really annoying. They're like flies. They never shut up. So can you see from this, to get what you want, right? So this is based on what the top performers do for sales. And you always stay authentic to yourself. So who you are deep down never changes. But did you see my behaviours changed? The speed, the tone, the pace, and the gesturing. It's just about really understanding the other person and what they want. So usually at this point we've got a wee slide that says who was brought up. Actually, we'll do that now in the chat. Who was brought up to treat other people the way that they want to be treated? Whose parent or guardian said treat other people the way that you want to be treated? Give me the answers. Me. That I know that looks like I'm answering my own questions. I promise it's Rebecca who's coming up under my name. Not me. Oh, she wasn't brought up. That's good. Okay. Rosemary was. So no. The secret is do not treat other people and how they want to be treated. And I think it's the flip, because most people say, oh yeah, I'll treat them like, especially when it comes to customer service. People are like, oh yeah, that's what I would want for customer service, but that's not always the same. So again, that when you understand the behaviours, it helps your confidence. So I've got a couple more slides, and then I think we're going to wrap up and take some questions. So the last thing is this is one of the most important things, and it's actually to think like a child. So when children are 2 or 3 years old, they learn to talk, don't they? And what they do is they use open questions. Who, what, why, where, when, how. Who, what, why, where, when, how. And that is one of the key things to getting what you want, because if you ask an open question, the other person talks. Does that make sense? Where do you want that? Like, it's the same when it comes to sales. Do you want to buy my product? Do you want to come to my event? Do you want to do that? If they say no, you've kind of put yourself in a corner. So again, the art of getting what you want is asking good questions. And I think this is another, I was going to say, does anybody know the name of the boat? Of course you do, because it's written on there, the Titanic. If you were on the Titanic and it was about to sink, you're there with no family and no friends. Deep down, the first person you would want to save is yourself, because you'd want to get back to your family and friends. And I think that's the thing, that to get what you want, it's always not about saying, I want this. It's about getting the other person to realise what you want, and then they give you it. Quite complicated, isn't it? But it's the same as sales. So again, even in networking, we've all been to networking, people go, Anna, do this, Anna, do that, Anna, do the next thing. But people don't really care what you do. They care what you can do for them. And that's the same in a personal relationship. Now, I don't know if this code is working. Well, we try it again. Rebecca's going to tell me if this is going to work or not, but we'll try it again. So the code this time is 599273. Let's see how confident we're feeling now. Should come up, fingers crossed. No, that's not the right code. Actually, Rebecca, can you just pop that code in the chat, please? I'm not going to waste any time on it. I've got the wrong code in there. So we did check this, as you do. But I'm taking it. Oh, is it working? Is it working? Okay, yeah, okay. Same thing then, if we do that with that code. Oh, we've definitely gone up. We've gone up. We are definitely rocking it. We're nearly at 4 now. And the one interesting thing there is that actually confident to meet my goals. So as a result of this, I think that we are all more confident. So I did say that I've got a package available. I'm not going to keep that slide up, but if anybody is interested in coaching packages, they start from £395 a month or £350 a month. But I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I am going to get Bev to take the questions, and then we will be back on time.
Well, again, amazing. Funnily enough, when I say to people about public speaking, a bit like sales, they look at me, run off to be sick, deciding they can't do it, when actually everybody can. And I like the fact that actually you're right, it is in sales, because I talk about what does the audience want? What can you do for them? So that's been amazing. Now I'm going to scroll through. Do we have any questions as I scroll through? See, this is the problem with people like Alison do this.
Using the chat. Yeah.
I have to go hunt for the questions. Rosemary. Rosemary asked a question. Where's Rosemary?
Hi, Rosemary.
Unmute yourself and ask your question, Rosemary.
Hi, Alison. Would you recommend everyone writes a book?
Again, quite controversial. It depends why you are writing a book. I think, so I'll give you the statistics, and I think it's for everybody to make an individual choice. So on average, a book sells in its whole lifetime 300 copies. And you make virtually no money for it. So I think, again, it depends on why you want to write a book. If you want to write it because it's your legacy, and you think, yeah, I really want to leave this as my legacy for my kids, my grandkids, my family, my friends, whatever it is, then yes. If you think you're going to get rich from it, if you think you're going to get speaking gigs from it, if you think, again, if that's the reason you're doing it, then I don't think that's the right why to do it, if that makes sense, because you're not guaranteed to get speaking gigs from it. You're not probably going to get much money from it. So in that case, I don't think it is. It's probably, again, controversial. Yes, I think I would write a book. But I've got friends that have written books, spent a year writing it, and they've sold virtually no copies of it. But then, you know, they can say they're an author. Does that make sense?
It does. And somebody once said to me, the first person you write it for is yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly didn't write mine for me. It was hard work. It was like literally the number of times I was, they had, because I'm a high yellow, and so the blue writing the book, they sort of had to tie me to a chair some days, the team. They're like, you're not going anywhere. You're not getting coffee until you've finished a chapter. I was like, oh no.
Wow.
I am so pleased you've said we don't all have to write a book, because the whole idea of writing a book makes me go cold. And my lovely friend Liz, who is a publicist, keeps going, no, I'm going to get you to write a book. No, don't.
Again, I think it depends on why and what I would hate to have written a book and so I'm getting into trouble here. Stop putting it off, Bev. I would have hated to. My worst fear was, I thought my first fear was writing it and nobody reading it, but then the next fear was people read it and they think it's rubbish. So
yeah,
I still can't backtrack on that answer. I don't know if it's necessarily good. But again, you've come so far, Bev, you've got a big following. I think that's the important thing as well, that if you've got a big following, you've got a strong message, strong why, then I do think that you should write a book. Am I getting a gold star for that one, Liz?
You're all ganging up on me now. That's just not fair. I want to come back to the why, because and I'm just fascinated how actually speaking and sales are very much the same. And I've always said I hate sales. I'm no good at selling. I'm very good at selling without selling, because it's the why. So when you think about the success you have when you're doing sales or when you're coaching people to sell, do you think the success comes from opening people's mindset to the why? Because I don't think we always think deep enough about why we do things.
So I think it definitely, if the mission statement that's in there is, when it's delivered correctly, sales and customer service is exactly the same thing. And that comes around confidence, because again, a lot of people really want to give great customer service. Like, you know, Sunny was saying earlier, like, well, you know, we want to give great customer service. We want to make sure, you know, we do this with different sizes, the different size of models, you know, we feel it's a great service. And that's where if you think you're selling, you're doing it wrong, because it shouldn't be. And that's where, if you look at the CBT circle, that I'm really great at customer service, but if you genuinely believe that sales and customer service is exactly the same, that's the thing that will give you confidence. But one of the things that's really important in sales is it's a process. It is, and this is the bit that saddens me, because when you're in corporate sales, you know the process like the back of your hand. So if I'm out, like I go out on field accompaniment with my clients' teams, right? So I'll be sitting, or I did in the old world, I'll be sitting in an office and I'll be listening to the salesperson and the customer, just observing. And if they follow process, I will know the next word that's coming out of their mouth, because I'll know what stage they're at in the process and when it's time to close, when it's time to overcome objections, when it's time. So that's where I really, if anybody could take learning the process in sales from the book or from this talk, again, I've not covered much on in this talk, but that's one of the things that is a game changer, complete game changer.
I would like to also look at popping the balloon myth of what confidence is. Because I think a lot of people think you're either born confident or you're not. And if you're loud and bright, you're really confident, and you can't be. For me, I would say to everybody that confidence is just that real knowledge that you know your stuff, that you understand what people want from you or need from you. And it isn't about, I mean, people look at me and go, oh, Beth, you must be, you're so confident, you're loud, and you're well, actually, there are days when I'm not. There are days when I am, but there are days when I'm not. So give us your view on that, because I think that is so misunderstood when we talk about confidence.
So I've got a lot on that again, people think extroverts are more confident than introverts. And they're not. Sometimes they just, like, because they don't engage the brain, they just, that sounds quite general.
Oh, you know me well then, Alison.
They just sort of speak. See what I mean? I'm an extrovert, just comes out. They don't engage the brain. But an introvert will take a wee bit longer and sometimes they overthink, and that's where an extra can be more confident, because it's not about what they've done, they've just kind of gone for it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I do, especially when I'm training salespeople, there's a thin line between confident and cocky.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people are confident, they come across as being cocky. And that's where sometimes if an introvert tries to be confident, they miss the line, and they go from, they're not appearing as confident, they're appearing as cocky, because it's not natural to them. Sometimes for the extroverts, it's more natural, because again, you know, a lot of them can, you know, bullshit baffles brains kind of thing, so they can seem confident. And again, I'm not male bashing, but again, a lot of men are quite good at just like coming out and saying whatever they think, and people go, oh, you're so right. Whereas sometimes women really struggle with that. But I know that Jill's going to cover, I can see Jill's poorly face, I know that Jill's going to cover this in her session, but you know, I talk about, you know, every single day people go, oh, you're so inspiring, you've done this, you've done that, you've done the next thing, oh, you're so confident, da, 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 da. Every day, all I do is I do my best and I bring my A game. And sometimes my A game is climbing Mount Snowdon, running a half marathon. And some days my A game is just literally putting on my pajamas, getting out of my pajamas and going downstairs. But I don't beat myself up, because all I've done is bring my A game. And I think, again, confidence comes from being able to say that's my A game, and you know, this is all I could do today. Whereas a lot of people, again, like Sunny, you know, she was very open with her vulnerability about lockdown, that a lot of people can't do that. And I think, you know, if you are quite confident, you're okay to talk about your vulnerabilities, you don't hide them. So again, I think that kind of balances the behaviour but the other bits as well.
Yeah, and it's funny, I'm going to just give you a quick story, because many of you know I'm a very quiet person. I don't speak much, I don't say much. I was even worse 20 years ago. Yeah, the map opened and out it came. And I was doing an NLP course, and one day I got a really bad throat, so I couldn't talk. So I was really quiet, and I was listening a lot more because the ears were engaged instead of the mouth. And I was listening, and one question I came out, and I just wanted to clarify something. And for the first time ever, I realised that everybody was listening really clearly, because I wasn't very loud. And that taught me a huge lesson about listening and being able to, you don't have to speak all the time, that you can just come in with that one question sometimes. And so yes, I'm still gobby, but I do listen a lot more.
Yeah, but I think it's hard, because a lot of the time we don't, especially in sales, we don't actively listen. We just listen to wait to get our point across or ask the next question, and we're not. And that's where a lot of people say to me, like, so what do you think from the behaviours? It's the gift of the gab. Surely it's the reds and the yellows that are the best salespeople. No, because they don't listen. There's so many amazing, outstanding introverted salespeople that really smash it all the time, because they genuinely get right into the customer needs. And again, you can only sell what to match the need, and they really do a great job. Whereas a lot of extroverts are giving it all that, and that's not how you sell.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. You know, confidence is about knowing, and I know I've worked with people who hate the stage and then come up going, can I do it again, please? It's like the Big Dipper. When you're terrified of doing it, you come up and go, can I do it again, please? Because they've learned to know what they're doing and be confident, because they know the process. There's always a process. Does anybody else have anything to comment? I'm not going to listen to Liz, because she keeps putting it. Stop putting it off there. Get to write the bed. Write them. I'm trying to ignore that. Anybody else has a question for the lovely Alison